Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's show. We are your 3 Bucks. Eric, Teej, and B. So guys, I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but I have some terrible news.
Oh, what? No. The markets were green this week. What are you talking about?
And we had a little bit of a ride into the weekend, too, on the crypto side. So
yeah, that was actually...
What kind of bad news are you going to have for us?
Well, guys, the stock market might be floating, but something else sank.
Oh, no.
After 46 years, the floating restaurant in Japan sunk.
What? I love that place.
I go there on the weekends.
Well, I mean, how did it sink?
This I don't know. You would
Nobody
think that
knows,
they would
I
have.
don't think yet, right? It just happened like fairly recently.
It was just reported here, yesterday. Floating restaurant. It has sank. It is at the bottom of the sea.
Do you think they had a bunch of rescue boats like lined up in there?
Or maybe they switched up the marketing, like all inclusive. Like we take you down to the bottom of the sea, and you can pick out your lobster, perhaps, or your trout. Is there trout in the ocean? I don't think there's trout.
How's the SpongeBob theme song go?
You live in a pineapple under the sea.
Maybe they're just taking this fresh seafood a little bit too seriously.
No, it's a shame. I mean, it lasted 46 years.
This is why I don't try new things like that. You don't want to get on there and be the guy that sinks in it. It's like going on the dragster and getting stuck at the top.
Hey, but you never know, man. They may make a documentary of it someday, like they have the Titanic, where they revisit it 20 years. You know, they cast a really old person to play the part, and you get to see documentaries on Discovery or National Geographic.
As long as at the end there's enough room for Jack on that door, I'm okay with that.
There might be a U.S. citizen harboring like some ill sentiment towards Japan all these years, to be honest, back from Pearl Harbor. And he goes, you know what? I'm poking a hole in this thing. This thing's going down.
Just saying.
Yeah, it's going down. Under the sea.
Under the sea.
Darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Under the sea.
Wasn't that like a crab or a lobster or something that sang that?
It was. It was one special lobster. And actually, Red Lobster came across an orange lobster.
Dude, the craziest stuff happens in Florida, might I add. I mean, the craziest things happen in Florida.
For sure. There's crazy people there.
Oh, touche.
But this orange lobster, it was like 1 in 30 million.
Yeah, that's insane. I saw the photo of it. It looked like most lobsters to me, to be entirely honest. It's not like 1 in 30 million orange.
Would you pay up to eat it?
Personally, I wouldn't. I'm willing to bet somebody out there would be willing to pay pretty fairly to eat those legs.
I steer away from seafood, but I will say if that thing was caught on the floating restaurant, it would have found its way to its natural habitat organically, right?
Well, you'd be happy to know that actually they did. So I guess supposedly they just ended up, sending it off to the local wildlife aquarium to live out its days in aquarium. Doesn't it seem a little unfair? I know. I feel like he should be like idolized to some greater extent. Like keep him like in a tank in the Red Lobster in the storefront that you found him in.
I just don't think it's fair that he's judged by the color. If you're red, you just get eaten. But if you're orange, you get saved.
True. Well, is it a 1 in 30 million lobster, or is it a 1 in 30 million color of lobster?
This is going way above my head, way above my pay grade.
Who needs to get paid when you're shipping lotteries?
Exactly. There's been a lot of lottery ticket news that I've been noticing recently. There was a lady that was betting on horse racing, and she used the same numbers, and within 3 months, back to back, essentially, she won $30,000. 2 times. She's like, oh, now I can afford a house. Like she's gonna just put it straight onto a house.
Well, that's actually pretty smart. I mean, good for her. I would probably have given about 45,000 of it back, trying to turn my 60 into more. Then
give it back to the market. You mean?
Then buying a house. That's some pretty good luck. I mean, horse racing in itself, I think betting is you have to pick. Don't you pick the horse, and then the horse has a number on it? Like for her to just pick the same number, she's not even betting on a horse. She's just betting on the number.
She's literally just betting on the number. Yeah.
That's insane.
The same thing, there was a guy in New Jersey, 7-Eleven is where he bought his lottery ticket. He won $17 million on 7-Eleven on free Slurpee Day.
That is freaking legit.
Yeah, I mean, That's eerie in itself too. Number 7 and the number 1. What's going on there?
At that rate, you're definitely buying the 7-Eleven franchise, right? Didn't he win like
17.3 million? It says here. I mean, if he was smart, he'd go and buy it. Like, hey, brother, thanks for the ticket. You're fired. This is mine now.
Yeah.
Well, let me spin off with mine then, because I also saw an article. I just thought it was interesting, and I wanted to give a congrats to them because I know they're listening. Is a lottery club in Michigan, a group of individuals they've been pulling together for 20 years, and they finally got it done. Now the amount is 1.85 million, and don't get me wrong, that's a good amount, and I would be entirely ecstatic with it. I'm just wondering if they're breaking even at this point after playing for 20 years. Like, I'm curious. Like, I didn't see if it was like they played monthly or if it was a weekly thing, but.
And how many people pooled together? Because if you end up having to dice up 1.85 million across like 30 people.
Well, keep in mind, 1.8 million. If they win that, then with taxes, is taking it pretty much cutting it in half.
You will get 600,000 after taxes. So then
now divide by 30 because 30 of you pulled together.
All right, everybody gets 20K.
I guess we're all still coming back to work tomorrow.
Yeah, still happy for those guys. Congrats.
People quitting once they hit it, only to realize that they're getting 10 grand. And
all right, Bucks, let's take this out of the sea and into the woods. We have a lot to discuss. We're going to be talking about all the companies this week that are reporting earnings. And then at the end, we have our hunts of the week, so stay tuned. Let's go.
Hey guys, we're going to talk about a lot of great stocks on today's show. Keep in mind that none of these are buy-sell recommendations. These are for entertainment and educational purposes only. This week's impacts on your Daily Buck. In NFT news, OpenSea announces a layoff of 20% of their staff due to the crypto winter. Looks like they want to avoid being that restaurant at the bottom of the open sea. GameStop NFT marketplace goes live to the moon as they exceed the Coinbase NFT sales volume within its first week. Limewire returns with a music-centric NFT marketplace. Virus not included. Or is it? In stock news, the consumer price index came in at a whopping 9.1% inflation, higher than expected. Markets didn't tank. And it didn't slow Amazon down from breaking Prime Day records with more than 300 million items sold. Where are these people getting the money? Netflix must be getting tired as they're leaning on Microsoft for its ad-supported plan, when really we just want more Stranger Things. Celsius hits 0 degrees Fahrenheit. That's negative, and it's gone as they file bankruptcy. But in warmer news, Hexagon, get out of here. We're talking Polygon partnering with Disney's Accelerator program, which saw Matic rise 33% in the last week. And that's sweaty. This and more and how it impacts your Daily Buck.
So guys, the Dow finished basically 0%, 0.3% up on the 5-day.
Flat.
Yes, flat. NASDAQ was negative 0.63% on the 5-day. S&P 500 was negative 0.46%. However, the XBI, that took a hit. That was negative 1.52% on the 5-day.
No, your baby.
It's my baby.
Hate to see it.
OpenSea volume, we saw an increase over the 7-day, which 114.8 million, which is an increase or an uptick of 9%, which is really good news for the NFT crowd.
yeah, I mean, week over week, 9% increase. They're printing money over there if they're pulling those numbers.
Maybe they don't have to lay off that 20%.
Could also be the injection of so many new projects all at once. Every day I'm looking and there's a new project coming out. Could just be the mass injection of all these, plus the celebrity projects. Betty Boop's coming out with a project.
Yeah. I mean, that number could be a little bit biased based on the amount of projects that are coming out. That's a fairly accurate statement.
There's a lot of innovation coming out right now in the NFT sector, but I think some projects have been delaying their releases for a little while because of how the market's been doing. And now that it's slowly coming back, I think that people are putting their shoes on and ready to release their projects. I think that might be helping.
Yeah, well, you want to take advantage of the liquidity while it's there. So they figure uptick in volume, crypto market's starting to surge. Well, why not launch?
Yeah, I mean, the crypto markets were ripping this past weekend, but it'll be interesting to see. And I think everybody's kind of like on guard because, crypto's taken such a hit this year. Could we see some retracement back if the markets still don't continue to recover? Because I know that they were kind of doing a little bit different than the stock markets this week, but sometimes the two kind of go hand in hand. If the general sentiment of the whole market's down, could be a false flag.
I'm probably leaning closer to that sentiment, Teej. I don't think we're out of the woods. Once I see a higher high on a lot of the bigger market cap coins, then I'll start to feel better about us going into a new cycle. Still better than what we were trending, which was down.
I mean, it's not stopping major companies from jumping into the mix. GameStop, right? They came back. They announced their NFT marketplace went live this week.
Yeah, and they crushed it. I mean, relative to Coinbase. But I think actually Coinbase legitimately just officially launched their marketplace, meaning people could actually buy and sell this week with the Bill Murray collection.
Bill Murray's great.
Yeah, right? Yeah. He's doing 1,000-piece collection, I think. So
I'm all in on that.
he got some love from the Quirkies. The Quirkies is an NFT project. I think somebody sent him a Quirky, like in a giveaway of some sort. Next thing you know, he's dropping his own thing. So.
But with GameStop, it's just funny because like any little piece of news pops that meme stock up. It's just like they're doing anything they can to stay afloat.
Well, what was it? Way back when, it was like they invested in gold, and it was like it went straight up.
Yeah,
they're ambulance chasing. You know what I mean? They're just trend chasing right now.
As long as they put out any kind of news, it's good.
Yeah,
they could just say they could say that they laid off 20%, and it'd be like, to the moon.
GameStop secured a deal with Saudi for cheaper oil prices. Gas to go down.
But there's LimeWire now. LimeWire's back. Man, brings back memories.
It's back.
Dude. Oh, gosh.
Love LimeWire, man.
Brings back memories of having to replace computers quite often.
brings back those memories. You sitting there downloading your favorite tune, and that little questionable video pops up on your screen. It's got your attention for a moment.
What were you downloading?
I was just downloading like Bruno Mars' Lazy Song or something.
Come on,
yeah, that's
man.
what I'd say too.
And no, listen, you guys know how LimeWire was back in the day. It took 72 hours to download a file.
You would literally have your computer sit overnight downloading like 8 songs. It sounded like a straight up fan you put next to your bed.
Because it was one, it was dial up. And yeah, 2, it was like you set it up to your iPod. You're like you set it up to be good to go to the next day.
And it didn't matter either. If you could have had Norton on your computer, Norton antivirus, you could have had an extra layer with some sort of spyware. You were probably going to be replacing the computer within the year with the number of viruses that were transferring.
How many fires do you think that LimeWire started because the computer just couldn't handle it? It was just running on overdrive all night.
Well, I know my mom was getting pissed because my computer definitely couldn't handle it. I just swear I couldn't even download like one song.
I'm just waiting for WinMX or Kazaa to come back after a large hiatus and then be the competition for LimeWire. I think that would be great for the NFT marketplace.
Oh, that'd be huge.
Well, I was looking forward to MySpace. So.
Honestly, I'm hoping that there's some sort of aspect that's illegal about the downloading the NFT, because that was the part that made it entertaining.
Yeah, it's like when you're drinking when you're 18 or 19. That's the fun part. Then you turn 21 and it sucks. You don't want to do it anymore.
But how about the stock market this week? People didn't really react, or it didn't tank anyway, when the 9.1% inflation rate came out. In fact, actually on Friday, the 15th, the financial sector boomed after Citibank, which, I think that was one of your hunts.
I reacted in my house. Party, let's go.
Yeah, the whole financial sector was up big. In fact, it was exceeding all the other major sectors in the stock market. Another one, too, that was up big, I think it was up about 10%, was the leveraged DPST. That was another hunt on a previous episode of $3 Bucks from B.
Thank God. Finally some clout. for B over here.
But yeah, big day on the stock market on Friday with financial leading the way.
Yeah. Also, huge news. Netflix added Big Daddy to their collection.
Ship it.
Yes.
I love that movie.
While they also call upon Big Daddy, Microsoft, to help them out with their ad-supported services.
Yeah, apparently they just don't want to do anything anymore. I mean, they don't want to produce.
They're a little bit late to the game on the whole ad support stuff.
Yeah, they tried. I got to give them credit. They tried not to do it this way, but just too many competitors in the space saying, yeah, we're doing it this way.
I'm going to put my hand up and I'm going to actually say, initially I was a little bit negative on it and I didn't think it was going to help them. I actually think this is going to be their saving grace.
Well, with the loss of subscribers, because you have other competition offering ad support, I think this is going to help them because Netflix has steadily increased their prices. So if they can offer another lower price to gain some of that volume back, because Disney's Plus is just skyrocketing right now, because they have a low cost option, or
But that's the thing is it's either a cost thing or it's a content thing. Like, okay, perfect. Are you willing to pay less, but are you getting the same content? It just happens to have ads.
That's how I understand it. I mean, just like when you have Hulu, I at one point had Hulu Plus. I reduced my cost by going to regular Hulu, and I had all of the same content just with commercials.
Yeah, see, I guess I'm just of a different mind. I don't mind paying a higher price if the content that I'm getting is worth it, if you will.
Well, there's no better time for them to release this news than after Stranger Things, when they've had like billions of watches quickly and everyone's talking about it. So why not release it when everyone's starting to forget about Netflix and all of their originals, and then they pop that off?
And inflation being 9.1%, you have like a lot of fear in the market right now. And if they offer, pretty much Netflix is on sale that you can get back in at a cheap cost, it might actually help their numbers.
Well, I mean, to be determined. On the streaming topic, I definitely have great news for another one of my hunts. I'm just on a roll this week.
You are.
I told you it was going to happen. Polygon, they just keep building. They just keep shipping. They've got another notch in their belt. Disney has...
Disney's a big notch.
That is.
I know. It really is. It's significant. Maybe not so much for Disney, but it's huge for Polygon, because that just means that... Because this accelerator program is like a special program. I think you have to apply for it.
Yeah, they bring in participants from a lot of different genres, and I think what Polygon's going to be tasked with is helping see how they could position Disney product for metaverse type of future-related projects. To me, it kind of screams like a sales pitch in a way, but it's big news for Polygon that Polygon was afforded the opportunity to be the participant.
Because there's a lot of applicants.
Yeah.
According to Disney and the executives at Disney, ones that are selected, they think very highly of them. They typically try to pick the companies or the applicants that are, the leaders in their industry. So for Disney to think that Polygon is a leader in the industry is huge for them.
Mm-hmm. This could be a huge catalyst. Good luck, Polygon. That would be awesome for you too for pulling it out.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm invested.
They've been up 90% in the last month. 90%, 33% in the last week, 90% the last month. But keep in mind, they took a humongous hit. I mean, probably one of the bigger hits.
There's a lot of volatility in crypto, but if you follow us at Thre3 Bucks, we'd have definitely turned you on to a play this week. You could have made some good money.
Yeah. Close your eyes. Can you smell that?
No.
Can you taste that?
Taste what?
Can you feel that?
Ooh, I feel my hand clicking like, follow, subscribe to the Thre3 Bucks, and it feels so good.
Let your voices be heard. The Thre3 Bucks are on Spotify, Twitter, YouTube, and more.
All right, it's earnings season, baby. It continues. Part 2. It's kicking off here the week of July 18th. That's right. The last week, Citibank, they beat expectations to kind of prop the whole financial sector up. And there's a lot of financial stocks that are still reporting this upcoming week, but there's a lot of other companies sprinkled in there. Given that the major indices still were flat or closed down last week, how do we feel they're going to do this week? This is a big earnings week.
So are you referring to, do I think that the financial sector can keep up its...
financial sector and the major indices in general? How do we think it's all going to close up? If the financial sectors can mirror, if all the rest of the stocks that are reporting this week, like Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, can mirror Citibank's success, will that be enough to keep the market propped up? Or do we think we could see, the same kind of result this coming week that we saw this past week?
I actually think we have a solid green week. So for all you listeners out there, completely short everything. No, I actually think that I think we will have a solid week, because I think that the other financial sector companies that report this week will also have earnings beats, just because they should also see an increase in net interest income, in loan origination fees and things of that sort. I'm just more curious, I guess, and indifferent about the rest of the companies that are reporting, a lot of retail companies. if there's going to be any adversity that could take us from green to red, it could be something along the lines of retail earnings not being what we anticipate.
Yeah, what's your sentiment, Eric?
I agree 100%. The banks are going to do great. They're taking our money. So,
Exactly.
yeah, literally looking at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I almost see a bank or two on every single day that's going to probably do fine. You got Citizens, you have Ally, I see Discover, Capital One, I believe is on there. So, yeah, I think that those are going to prop up each day just a little bit. And honestly, I'm looking at a lot of these stocks on the earnings list, and there's a couple that are red flags to me that stick out, including Tesla and Twitter, that whole saga. I'm kind of curious where that's going to go.
Those are probably going to be the most like listened in and have the most attention as those two.
Those
Twitter
are going to be
did a
trending
180,
for days.
by the way.
So, I mean, which stocks are you most looking forward to seeing throughout? I mean, there's a lot of them reporting.
Well, there's three that stand out to me that I really want to see, but two primarily is going to be the United Airlines and American Airlines. I'm just curious to see where the airlines land because the cost for flights have went up significantly. The cost of fuel has went up, but I still think people are traveling, but then you also have the pilot shortage.
And they're trying to offer the pilots more money. So
their operational costs
Yes.
of paying for their employees is going up too. However, I think that that's going to impact the next quarter even more so. So I actually think that the airlines are going to do fine. They're going to have good earnings.
They might have really good earnings because they might have had a really, really good second quarter.
how about you, B? Which ones are you specifically honing in on this week?
I have my eye on one in particular, one that we use every day, or most of us use every day, and that's Snap.
Okay.
Snapchat.
I actually haven't used Snapchat in probably a couple years.
Okay, well,
So
one's not like the rest of us. Honest to God, I'm interested to see what they're doing compared to the competitors. Investors didn't necessarily think they're going to make it because they had competition with Facebook, TikTok, and competition with all these other platforms that rely on ad revenue.
So then how do you think that they're going to do?
I think they're going to do really well. I think they've actually gained market share on a lot of the competitors in the ad revenue space. I think they have a different way of offering ads than most of the competitors, and I think they have a cheaper way of offering ads.
What's interesting about Snap is, their active users, it's all linked to a phone number. If you see their active users go up, it's more indicative of new members joining Snap as opposed to, Facebook or Twitter, because people can be making fake accounts or double accounts.
Right.
So that does show growth, but personally, I do think that Snap is going to actually show a decline in active users, but that's just where my sentiment lies.
I mean, they could see a decline in active users, but they still may see an increase in ad revenue because they could be approached by other companies, not necessarily individual users.
Depends. If your active user count goes down, then you may have advertising companies that aren't as attracted to fork over the money for the ad spend.
That could also be a lag time, though. You might not recognize that until after this quarter because people don't know the user count right now. I think that one's going to be an interesting one because Twitter, I foresee Twitter being pretty bad. I guess recency bias is the term because all social media platforms I just feel like negative about.
Well, Snap's last earnings report, they got absolutely crushed. The stock did.
So setting the bar pretty low. Is that what you're saying? Like, so
I'm just thinking. Yeah,
Right. We're already this low.
no, I'm just curious to see. They're a very interesting stock at a very interesting price. They're at $13.65 a share, and I know a good majority of people in this country use the app. I'm not buying it. I'm not selling it. I'm just curious to see what their earnings look like this quarter.
I mean, I think Snap's a little behind on times. Their biggest competitor is what, Kodak?
It's cute.
What about you, Teej?
I'll tell you, the one I'm not really looking forward to is Hasbro toys. I actually am a holder of Hasbro, so just to be transparent, just because I like the stock, their toys. But no, I just think that the consumer cyclical, like with the inflation, I think they might take a hit. So I certainly, the only reason I want to watch their earnings is I think that it could be bad, and it could be bad for my stock.
You don't think people are buying toys?
I mean, they are, but, they're probably buying Legos, but Legos is not publicly traded. If they were, I'd probably be throwing my money into Legos. because of the cost of those things. But no, so that's the one I would say I'm not looking forward to. The ones I actually am going to be focusing on is Bank of America, because I'm a holder of Bank of America. Them and Sam Adams. And I think both of those companies are going to report out well because financial sector, people leaning on credit cards, I think the financials are going to do well. And Sam Adams, just because, well, one, I like the stock, but that's not a reason why it'll go up. I just think because, it's those kind of consumer defensive stocks have kind of held up pretty well during this bearish market trend. And think about what kind of events were in Q2. You had the Memorial Day, and people drink around a lot during the summer, and that's when people convene the most. So I think Sam Adams is going to rake in some profits. But where do we go from here? I mean, is this the final pass before we start seeing some light at the end of the tunnel? We have the midterms coming up. There's some theories out there the Fed could become a little bit less aggressive on the rate hikes. They like to play impartial, around a major political election. So could we start seeing some upticks after we get through these earnings?
Yeah, I mean, I think this could actually probably be the most pivotal week year to date from the standpoint that kind of seems like we may have turned a quarter. The financial sector is starting to rev up. We're going into the third and fourth quarter. Gas prices have been a lot cheaper. So it just seems like there's been more positive catalysts lately than there's been negative.
I wouldn't go so far to say gas prices are a lot cheaper.
Yeah, maybe a lot was a stretch.
They pulled back a little bit.
From
I'm still just like throwing $20 on my Jeep and just like $20 at a time.
And then you're spending like $8 to drive to the gas station to refill it each time.
Yeah.
I don't fill up. I get from A to B if I'm lucky. If I run out of gas during A to B, then and it has happened a few times. That's what's crazy is I'm not kidding. Like I'm so against filling up my truck that I'm like, you know what? I push it now.
It's a good way to get your workout in.
It says fuel low, and I'm just like, how much I got in the reserve tank? Maybe 25, 30 miles. I always push it.
How low can you go?
Hey man, I'm just trying to get my steps in, man.
But yeah, I mean, I just I don't know. It just feels like there's a shift in the air. That could just very well be a psychological thing for me. That could be all in my head. Because next week we could get absolutely pummeled, and people will say, told you so. It's just a bear or a bull trap. Just a little midterm relief before the slaughter. So
this is a new B we're seeing right now, and that's because we had a nice little Friday close, and then the weekend Matic went real wild, and he's just feeling good.
Oh, I do feel good. This is the beginning. In the air. This is just the beginning.
I think we'll have a couple more red weeks, but I feel like we're getting out of the woods. My sentiment is tied to believing that Q3, Q4, we're going to start seeing some better earnings from all companies.
But that suggests that we completely just fade a recession. If this is a shift and we're good through the end of the year or what have you, then are we just not acknowledging the fact that we're in a bear market and recession is around the corner?
I mean, we talked about Amazon breaking records. So it's like, even though you hear all the numbers out there, 9.1% inflation, and it keeps going up, it's almost like the consumer isn't weathered by it. And I actually thought the markets were going to tank when they announced it, and it kind of like held stable. I'm almost thinking we're used to the bad news at this point.
Well, you get hit so many times too. At a certain point, you numb out.
It's like if your body, if you get your arm cut off, your brain shuts off. It shuts off that part and numbs it out for you.
That's exactly how it works.
No, that's not true at all.
That's how it works.
You've never heard of phantom pain? They cut your arm off and you still feel like your arm's there.
And our brains are just shutting off those the nerve signals there, so we don't gotta feel it anymore.
But you're still bleeding.
You're still bleeding. You'll probably die. But
Hunt of the week. Last week, markets were bland, but your Bucks are always ready to take a stand. We're going to talk about different securities to put your scopes on. Teej, what do you got?
Yeah, my hunt is going to be in the financial sector. We've talked about it a lot. It's Bank of America, BAC. And it's actually one company I'm looking forward to on their Monday report out earnings, because I'm hoping that they carry the torch just like Citibank, beat expectations. And I'm a holder of Bank of America. Bank of America, they are a wide-ranging full-service bank. I mean, we're talking loans, credit cards, savings accounts, IRAs, you name it, they got it. And right now, I mean, they are trading at such a good value. They're trading at nearly 49% below the estimated valuation. Their current price, they closed at $32.25. Fair value, according to Simply Wall Street, is at $63.08. And even on a future growth perspective, they're expected to grow at a rate of 8.8% within the next 1 to 3 years. And they pay a dividend of 2.6%. So every quarter, you're going to get a little bit of money. So I really do think that these guys are still well positioned, and especially with the raising of the interest rates that the Fed has done, they're going to make more money.
So this is long term for you because you mentioned it's in your portfolio.
It's
right?
Yeah, it's in my portfolio. It's a foundational stock that I continually and routinely add to. So, Hunt, how about you, Eric?
Okay, my hunt of the week is Amazon. We all know them. Ticker AMZN. They closed at $113.55 on Friday.
Affordable after the split.
Yes. They don't pay a dividend, but that's not why you're getting into Amazon. You're getting into them because you're expecting them to grow. They have their hands in a lot of different sectors. They deal with robotics, cloud services. They have partnerships with, more recently, Grubhub, but they also have partnerships with Microsoft and Intel. On top of that, they have a lot of subsidiaries that they own. So Twitch is one huge aspect. They have streaming, so whether it's gaming, they have that, or if it's music, they have that. And video. Let's also look at, right now we're in a recession, right? Or at least times are tough. But guess what? They're still selling a bunch on their Prime Day. They've advertised this so that it is like essentially Black Friday twice a year now. And people go out and they buy as much as they can. You see e-commerce is growing, and they own 40% of all the e-commerce from 2021. That number's only going to go up. Amazon's going to be as safe as they get. I think it's really important that you try to look at some of these bigger companies in this tough time and invest in them at a discount. So I see Amazon moving up quite a bit. B, what do you got for us?
My hunt of the week this week is actually RIOT Blockchain, ticker symbol RIOT. Believe it or not, the company, although having a newer name relative to blockchain, they've actually been around since 2000. They're a data center hosting company, and they also engineer electrical products. But more recently, they started to acquire mining rigs so they can mine Bitcoin. You know, it obviously sounds like at some point they made a pivot to take advantage of the surging in liquidity in the crypto space. So that's essentially all that they do. They literally mine Bitcoin. They just buy a bunch of computers. They have obviously a hosting center, and that's their job is to mine Bitcoin, and they earn a fee for doing so. And it's just a short hold for me. Honestly, if I pull the trigger, it would be something that I hang on to solely in the third quarter. And simply just because I saw an increase in volatility in crypto this week. And I think crypto is going to continue to go in an upward trend. Maybe not necessarily out of the woods yet, but definitely up in the short term.
Would it have a positive relationship to Bitcoin's value?
Yeah, very much so. And that's honestly, God, the only reason that it's a hunt of the week of mine.
So it's essentially showing that you're bullish for Bitcoin down the road.
Yeah, 100%. They did very well back in May when crypto was still running hot. Like the rest of the stock market, it came crashing down to a more realistic valuation. Right, blockchain.
All right, let's ride it.
All right, gang, it's hunt time ahead of a new week of earnings. Will we rise to the occasion or sink like a Hong Kong restaurant? Blah, 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 blah. Well, we talk about stocks, we talk about crypto, NFTs, we talk about licking lobster legs. So connect with us throughout the week at Thre3 Bucks at Twitter. If you got a suggestion, tweet us, DM us. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, happy hunting.